from the worldwide leader in sports, celebrating the 25th anniversary of OTL Outside the Lines tomorrow night, and the keeper of the soccer flame in Bristol, Bob Lee. How are you, General?
Well, as we say in Jersey, how you doing?
How you doing? What exit are you?
By the way, Carly shot from Banff.
Right? Don't we have, as American sportscasters, we're mandated to choose a location very far away when that happens, right?
Intimate, fan of soccer as you are, all you do have to say is the halfway line. And, that's not on her. I've seen a few of those, but that in a World Cup, I've never seen anything like that of either gender. That's insane.
Yeah, isn't it, though? I mean, but I'm trying to avoid the whole an either gender thing, too, Bob. And I know you take this very, very seriously. That speaking about this accomplishment, it has nothing to do with women, men. This is one of the great all-time performances you will see in any sport, and I'm wondering where you stand on that, Bob.
Yes. As I'm sitting here last night watching 1-0, 2-0, 4 minutes in, and effectively the match is over, even though Japan are a very good side. And then 3-0, and I'm thinking back to last year in Rio, and I'm seated between Michael Ballack and Gilberto Silva. Ballack, former captain of Germany. Gilberto Silva, a World Cup winner with Brazil, watching Brazil lose to Germany 7-1. That still remains the single most outlandish and overwhelming result, I think, in the history of sport. But last night's performance was simply astounding. For 3 of those 4 goals were just the astounding quality. Those and having just put in those, I'm going to go all technical on you here, Rich. I'm sorry, but
go for it,
those
Bob.
set pieces the day before, those designed dead ball plays that went in, and then the chip from halfway is just insane.
I'm on the phone with Bob Lee right now from ESPN. Carly Lloyd, for those who may not know her story, Bob, can you recount it? Who is Carly Lloyd?
Out of Rutgers, had a slow start to this Women's World Cup when really Heather Rapinoe was the engine room, or Megan Rapinoe was the engine room keeping this team going. Had her World Cup in 2011, I think was good, not great, but just flowered when given the opportunity. And as the U.S. also changed their attacking position, the way they set the team up, and Lloyd was just put into this position and rose to the moment. And in the throes of what she accomplished last night, Rich, as Abby Wambach comes on, and Abby reduced to basically just picking up stray minutes at the end of the game by the end of this World Cup, which does not diminish what she's accomplished, which is the all-time women's goal scorer in the history of the game, having passed Mia Hamm. As Abby comes on for her last 12 minutes of action, Carly Lloyd takes the captain's armband up, which she had no reason to do. She was not leaving the game, and put it on Abby's arm. And that sense of what that team was about last night was echoed as the 2 women who have been there the longest, Christy Rampone and Abby, came up last for their winners' medals, and then they were the 2 who lifted the trophy. I mean, that was quite something. That with the acknowledgement that there is this thread of history through all of these 3 World Cups that go back to 1991.
I'm on the phone with Bob Lee from the worldwide leader in sports, joining me here on the program. Is there anything that the men's national team, in the way that maybe boys soccer and men's soccer in this country is run or managed at the youth level, can learn from the women's side, Bob?
No, that's. We have to really recognize what the United States have done and done so well. We got out early with the women's game. Certainly, there was the Title IX impact, and it was important. We established our dominance at an early point in time in history. 91 winners, 99 winners. But through the last 16, the rest of the world had caught up with the women in terms of producing quality teams, technical skilled. You could make the case that Japan, I think, on their day, certainly in 2011, were the better technical side, better individual player skills. So it's a smaller pool, I think, of nations. It's a growing pool of women's soccer powers, but it does not. You can't make that cross-gender reference because the rest of the world, every nation, is in that pool and trying and striving to produce quality players. The United States had the benefit of getting out with seeing the promise of the women's game and capitalizing on it at an early point in time in history.
Bob Lee joining me here on the program. And so I couldn't help but notice as they're shaking hands with people in FIFA blazers. There was
where was he?
Where was
Sepp?
Then we could play that game. Where in the world was Sepp Blatter? He was dealing with issues or personal things in Zurich. I mean, but here's an interesting thing, Bob. Sepp wasn't there, but he did tell a German publication this weekend that the presidents of France and Germany, Sarkozy and Wolf, at the time of the Qatar elections, were trying to influence the vote, and quote unquote, that is the reason why we now have a World Cup in Qatar. Those who decided this should also take the responsibility. It just seems one day after another, this guy comes up with one more mind-blowing statement after another. Bob, what do you think about this?
Well, he has not resigned. And by the way, he only announced his intentions to resign. And now he's backtracking like he's going to place his hands in front of the extraordinary Congress, and we will learn the date of the Congress after a special meeting on July 20th. There is some truth in what the guy says. Oh, did I just say that? Yeah. But there is actually. Look, there was all sorts of influence being called upon and chits being, called in and favors and whatnot 8 ways from Sunday. It's politicking. It's the metaphorical smoke-filled rooms. So if excuse me, if he says that was happening, I'm sure it was. But there was also the question of funds perhaps being transferred back and forth. And there's no Qatar. There's no logic to placing it in Qatar. But people say, will this be revoted? Well, do you want to be the guy that tells Vladimir Putin that he's not going to host the World Cup in 2018? I don't want to be the guy that delivers that message because, it's not going to happen. And the subsequent one in Qatar, it's the first time the Arab world will host a World Cup. Morocco tried so desperately several times to get the cup and did not. And so the geopolitical ramifications of that not occurring, despite all the issues of where it's at, workers' rights, the horrible death toll of the Nepalese workers who were there, and the weather, just take that off the board, unfortunately. It's geopolitics come to bear on this stuff.
But what's the difference, Bob, between June 2nd, when Sepp Blatter gets to a podium and decides to say, I'm stepping down, or we're going to call another Congress, and I will put at disposal my function, which was the interpretation of what he said, the English interpretation of what he said. What's the difference between that on June 2nd and July 2nd, where he is just back to being the old Sepp, just saying whatever is at the top of his mind, and he's not leaving?
I think he has seen the entire civilized world. Well, that's not. I see much of the civilized world from June 2nd on basically start dancing in the end zone. That finally there's a promise that there might be somebody new at the top of FIFA and possibly a culture change, and he's digging in his heels. Now, I will tell you, by the way, if you look up passive-aggressive in the dictionary, you'll find the last month from Herr Blatter. It's right there. He is still very much a figure of affection and has many friends in Africa and in Asia, and because he did spread the money from the World Cups around. He did take the first World Cup and put it into Africa in 2010. Of course, there are questions about the efficacy of all that voting. So there is good reason to believe that this you could be looking at a brokered political convention whenever FIFA get down to having this special convention. His influence, you may not see enough people in FIFA want to vote for a reform candidate. They may have to settle for a middle-of-the-road candidate. This is Byzantine.
Before I let you go, Bob, I've got a couple more minutes. What does celebrating the 25th anniversary of Outside the Lines mean to you?
Well, it makes me realize how old I am. But no, it makes me realize how proud I am of the people I've been fortunate to work with and continue to work with on a daily basis. The work we do every day, every weekday, every Sunday morning, online all the time, with our enterprise reporting and our quick turnaround shows. It makes me very proud, and I think tomorrow night's show at 7 Eastern Time, we undertake the impossible, which is to condense 25 minutes into about 60 minutes of television. But I think you'll get a good sense of what we've been able to do, what we try to do on a daily basis. Ask the questions, ask them fairly, and without fear or favor.
Do you remember what the first subject of OTL
sure.
was back in 1990?
It was a show entitled in May of 1990, When the Cheering Stops. And it looked at the adjustment of athletes to their life without the game as part of that. And you'll see a little slice of it in the show on Tuesday night. I did a piece in it with Steve Carlton, who had just been out of the game about 4 years and had not really spoken much when he was in the game, but we were able to get an interview with him. He was living high up in the Rockies in a cabin, about 8,000 feet of altitude. Steve's a bit of a survivalist up there, and it was he's an engaging guy, and he told some great stories, and he talked about having been so dominant for so long and having taken so many years to get out of the game. You look at Carlton, the back of his baseball card, he played with the Indians and the Giants, and he was hanging on. He didn't want to go, and he talked about it quite frankly. And that was their first show 25 years ago.
Congratulations, Bob. You deserve it. You really do.
Oh, buddy, it means a great deal coming from you.
Oh gosh, it means a great deal having you call into this program. What you have done in the time that you have been at ESPN and what you're going to do. Because you just re-signed, correct? You're extending your contract?
Yeah, I'm hanging in. It's because I figure another couple of years I'm going to learn the difference between Croatia and Latvia.
I'm so embarrassed that you got to listen to that, Bob. Gosh darn it. I try to mind.
They're about 1,000 miles apart. It's close. It's over there on the east side of Europe, whatever.
I just came off vacation. I tried to there was no Porzingis for me for 9 straight days.
I tell you, I just have a lot of fun watching Knick fans live this existential angst. It's a nonstop Ionescu play. It really is.
Bob, take care of yourself. Congrats on the 25th anniversary.
God bless, buddy. Good to talk.
You bet. That's same here. That's Bob Lee.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.